Good morning, Tamar. You're on mute. There
Good
you
morning.
go. Good morning to you and to everyone. We start our day together and also in some other place than just a normal everyday space. You take a minute.
Let's take a minute.
So it's very nice to know that I don't have to pack a bag, buy a ticket, and change my physical location in order to take a break. Just by turning my attention, my awareness inwards, just by envisioning a sacred space beyond the mind, separate from any of the chaos of the mind. And settling myself into that space of quiet, holiness, inner beauty. I can take a spiritual break like this anytime. Here we go.
Here we go. Feels like flying right into the thought of the day.
Yeah, yeah. It is something to take up a thought from the larger picture from that space. So let's do it. The thought for today is become a spiritual social worker. Become a spiritual social worker.
Last week, it's funny because last week we were spiritual surgeons.
Yeah.
And I think, not on a spiritual level, a surgeon and a social worker is completely uh, two different aspects. They need two different qualifications. They're totally different professions.
Mm. Interesting to think that these times, so critical and so extreme, are going to emerge people who have such a multivaried role to be playing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Being
Yeah,
a surgeon and a social worker. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Or some will be spiritual surgeons and some will be spiritual social workers. But just to think that these are the labels that identify the um, qualifications that are needed to heal what's going on in the soul of humanity now. So I have a question for you.
This time I wanted to ask you, what do you think a social worker needs?
Actually, I was going to ask you, what is a social worker? A social worker, not a spiritual social worker, but what is a social worker? What does she do? He, she.
She helps people um, for their well-being, their welfare, You know, sometimes it's on a physical basis, like they need to find a place to live, they can't manage their own lives. And sometimes it's on their mental health being. So they need like houses to help them. They're called like bait me'azen. They need to stabilize and
adjust. It helps people adjust.
Yeah, adjust to their physical, mental, on all levels of well-being.
Okay, so what would be the difference between a psychologist and a social worker?
These days there's not a lot of difference.
Not a lot of difference. Okay, I wondered.
Yeah, there's not. Well, some people might not agree with me, but it's like, you know, it's like you ask. It's the social worker works more with the physical living, so she'll help people, you know, with all the bureaucracy
Right.
of working outside the house, you know, and all that. And the psychologist is only, you know, more working inwards.
But
it's a little bit more outward, inward, but subtle changes.
Right. But both, I like that word, adjust. If somebody's having trouble adjusting to a change, maybe a move, or they've been evicted from their house, to help people integrate maybe, or
integrate
manage well. Okay.
And integrate into society. I think a social worker.
Yeah, that's a good integrate.
A social worker will help you integrate into the society.
Yeah.
By practical means.
That's right.
Psychologist would help you integrate into psychology, into society, internal wise.
So there we have a good insight into a spiritual social worker. Because I think the job of a spiritual social worker would be to help people integrate into a larger picture of everything going on, starting with their own self. Integrate into means a mindset, a shift of mindset. I think that's what a spiritual social worker does, because on an external level, is there much we can be happy about on an external level? 10 years ago, I think people could still feel that things are going to be okay. Throw a little bit of science at it, throw a little bit of money at it, and things will work out. But now on so many different levels, we're seeing collapse. And yet, you know, for so many different reasons, we can bring a larger picture to what is going on, what our physical senses perceive, and to then understand a larger picture, but then live accordingly, integrate myself into a larger picture reality. That could be the job of the spiritual social worker. What do you think?
I'm thinking what it means to integrate our lives with the spiritual work or with the spiritual being, and how do we integrate it? And I think what kind of qualification would a spiritual social worker need? Because when we think about social worker, we think about empathy. There's a lot of words that come into my mind when I think about social worker, but it will go to the, you know, to the empathy side of working with people, understanding people, helping them cope with their lives practically, but by understanding them and being with them. And I'm trying to think what it means on a spiritual level.
There's an image. Sorry, go ahead.
Because you do need some kind of understanding where the person is You know, sometimes we have the word feel the pulse. Feel the pulse is something a social worker does. It means understand who's in front of you and adjust your level of speaking and you know, and your everything about it. So maybe that would be a qualification needed for a spiritual social worker. Understanding that each one is different, comes with a different baggage with himself, and how to integrate that with the spiritual world. That could be an interesting job.
Well, you do it, so you should know. But, I come into it from a slightly different doorway. Always appreciating how, when we start working with the larger picture, things should start getting easier, not harder. Yeah. Things should start getting more simple, not more complicated. I know that moment in my life when I kind of gave up trying to understand where another person is coming from, because you can't tell anymore. Everything, you know, inside me can be so complicated. I haven't yet unraveled all my strings. And I'm really going to be, I mean, I'm speaking to a psychologist, and that's your job.
No, but I agree completely, because lately that's the feeling.
Well, lately, see.
Yeah, lately the feeling is that even though we try to understand where people are coming from,
yeah,
you can't figure it out. We lost that chord.
And we can make mistakes because of that. And we can be misunderstood as well. We could mean very well, but then. So I feel that a qualification of a spiritual social worker is, you know, it's like a solar plant or a solar dish, you know? That solar dish is catching power from the sun. And then that power is being used to make lots of different things function successfully. Almost as if to say, it's worthwhile considering that our problem isn't so much that we don't understand what's gone wrong in the world, outside, inside, in my own relationship with self, others, life. But it's that we don't have the power to change myself. We're up against very strong programmings, conditionings inside, and very strong influences from outside. So how great if I'm not able to make a connection with that higher power, there's somebody who is making that connection, and like a solar dish, you know, it's just
I really
going
like the
out.
metaphor.
And I don't hook into that person, I hook into the power coming. And then it's like in our campus in India, of all places, India, everything is run by solar power. We were awarded many awards for being the largest solar power plant in Asia. Now there are bigger ones, but at first ours was so big. Even the microphones are powered by the solar systems.
Yeah, I was there, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see it. And I really like the connection you made, because a social worker takes her knowledge and connects between the person and, you know, the government, the Bituach Leumi, Social Security, everything. And now you're saying, let's connect somewhere higher and help people connect to that.
I would say it's even easier than that.
You always make it easier.
Because it has to be easy. We're in very difficult times, and we're tired.
Right. So you're just saying, be that light.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm that solar dish. My job is just to connect. And then that energy, that power is available. And I really have seen it's something to experiment with. But the new way, the new norm, I do believe, is going to be one which is much more subtle, much more vibrational. And if I'm connected as a solar dish and that power is going out, then automatically people are receiving around me and even on the other side of the planet a different power, a different source, and it will give power in their attitude. Their own thoughts could suddenly be more courageous, more positive, more determined, because all of that takes power, and this is that power. You know, it's just like being in a meeting and everybody has different ideas and everybody starts arguing, but there's one person who doesn't come into the arguing, remains peaceful. And when you hear her talk, you see she's very powerful in her ideas. And everybody wants to listen to that. And everybody suddenly hears it and thinks, this is right, this is good. Power to make a decision is not easy.
And I want to say that everyone, everyone who listens to us or watches us now can also be his own solar system or dish, solar dish, because everyone in his level, even if you're just staying, these 20 minutes, which we come into a different vibration and we leave the room and we talk to people from a different vibration. So everybody affects the people around him.
There it is.
When you're a yogi 40 years, you can help a lot of people.
That's what we're talking about.
Each one can be his own dish to the family, to his friends,
absolutely,
to his co-workers.
Absolutely. At that moment where the person herself is making that connection.
Each one on his level. It's every day it gets, the connection gets stronger. We talked about it.
Right.
The more you practice it, the more the connection gets stronger. The more you know how to, it's like tuning a radio. And then the more you know where to tune,
that's right.
It gets easier.
That's right.
It's not like you're looking all over the spectrum. You just gently, where to tune in.
Right. But it's something also to experiment with because, like, for example, these days we hear of even more upheaval and our hearts go out to all the people who are suffering. And I know one of the greatest difficulties for me in hearing about yet one more war, yet one more slaughter, is that I'm one person. What can I do? And the feeling that having tried many avenues over decades, many educational, political, spiritual, religious, honestly, it's a huge gift to realize that there's something to do. If I keep myself in my sacred space, connected to that larger picture in a different energy, peace, power, then that's, even if I don't open my mouth, that's introducing into the atmosphere another perspective and power to go for the right thing. And it's accumulating. And ultimately, that's going to be our greatest weapon. Peace bomb against all these other bombs.
Okay, that's a good way to end the program for today. Having a peace bomb in our mind.
Yeah. By turning my attention inward, I can connect to a supremely peaceful energy. I am a peaceful spirit. And that can radiate out to all four corners of my mind and even the world.
Thank you, Sharona.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone. Going up to my day with radiating spiritual vibrations.
That's right. And it doesn't mean you don't do anything else. Go out and do whatever you do to make a difference in the world, but do it with these vibrations and there'll be more success more easily.
And easily.
Easily.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.